Hi everyone, how you going? I'll just give it a couple of minutes for the internet to catch up and send out its little notification. I've got some updates for us. I'll give it a couple of minutes. Yeah. So, it's been a busy week and we've got some more coming up. Oh, come on. I'm waiting for this to catch up, so... Oh dear. A few people coming in, which is good. So, there'll be a notification come up in a minute. Facebook will tell me I'm live. It seems to be delayed. It takes a few seconds or a couple of minutes to come through. So, we've got updates. Ceduna has their shoes. Hi Darren, how you going? 300 pairs of shoes have landed in Ceduna. Yay. This is fantastic. And then on top of that, you've got, they've got some sporting goods. They've got some kids packs. So that'll be all starting to get sorted out tomorrow. Of which the first batch of 50 pairs of shoes will be going out to kids. And there's at least 30 kids that have never had shoes, never had brand new shoes before. Of course, the kids that need them the most will be the first in line. There'll be shoes sent out to Yatala, or Yalata community and Knibbler community. And yeah, so that's really good stuff that's happening. Unfortunately, the person who's organised all this has had a really rough trot and needs a bit of help herself. The town's pretty rough at the moment. There's things happening. There was a riot at the school type thing, kids having a big punch up, police were called, kids were arrested, right? And the area where one of our people live, 3 break-ins in the last 2 weeks, including her own home. Which looks like it was a revenge attack, because what was stolen impacts a disabled child. It was equipment that was used for that child to assist with speech. It was a Leap Pad Ultimate but it had specialised speech programs with it. That was stolen. Stereo. TV was smashed, but they didn't steal the food. They just stacked it all in the lounge room and destroyed it, and destroyed the furniture. So the children aren't aware that there was a break-in at the house. Mum's they're sort of like saying, "What did you do to the house, Mum?" She doesn't want them to know what's happened. With help from some of the people in town, that she's managed to get the place cleaned up, and housing came and changed the locks, which is good. But this parent is being technically terrorised for what she's been doing. Next week, kids are going to have shoes on their feet. There's going to be sports equipment going to the youth centre, and there's going to be backpacks. So, and we have to say thank you as well to Donna from National Homeless Services in Melbourne, who raised the money to be able to organise that and get the stuff shipped up. Thank you very much, Donna. You know what I mean? So what can we do? I've been looking around for a Leap Pad to try and send over. As you know, we're still fundraising to sort out towards the Canberra trip. We've got the airfare sorted and I've got some accommodation sorted, but we still need to have some spare money there. I've got money sorted for the accommodation in Brisbane for the Indu event, and some petrol money for Karen to bring her down from Bundaberg. But we still need more. It doesn't look like I'm going to get to Melbourne. We just can't raise the money for the airfares. And each day that goes along, the fares get dearer. So I'm looking at the airfares. It was going to be, in the last couple of weeks, I've watched the airfares go from $238 and $258 there and back to $238 to $458. You know what I mean? Coming back. So we'll see how we go. But if you guys can help out anyway, just chuck some money into our account. I found a leap pad in Bundaberg. It's 100 k's from me, but I can possibly get somebody to bring it down to me. I want to try and get some stuff for this child, because, yeah, it's really hard with a special needs child that is used to a set routine and having set things, trying to get kids to sleep in a environment where they don't have their music and they don't have their sensory needs. They don't have a TV at the moment. You know, so I know that her church community is going to try and help, but I don't know what's available. And so I just had a quick look for this leap pad. They're available between $60 and $100. Right? Bank details. Yeah. I'm no good at, I can't do, yeah. Okay. Helen. Got a pen? NAB BSB 084269, account 633 1912 49. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I'll put the details in the top of this when I finish this video. I'll edit it and I'll put the bank details there. All right. But yeah, big thank you to Donna and this other lady that's been going through absolute hell. I don't want to say too much because there's big issues in Ceduna and she's copying it right, left and centre. There was a riot in her street the other day and the next door's house got smashed up. There's all sorts of problems, you know, and well, one of the things that disturbs me greatly is Centacare and places like Save the Children have got lovely new buildings and they've got their staff and their cars, but why are Centacare sending people to a small community church for stuff? You know what I mean? Centacare hands out 3 food hampers a week and then handballs the rest to this small little community church. And he's doing 20 food hampers a week. He's done 900 food hampers in the last 4 months. He had his total budget stripped. Carol and Mary, I am not going to put a video of a child on here to prove that this child is in need. I'm in phone contact with this parent, right? Excuse me. I am in phone contact with this parent quite a lot over the last few weeks. There's a lot more than just this child in need in Ceduna. There's 950 families on the cashier's debit card that can't buy damn shoes. No matter what people say in town, $89 for a pair of joggers and they don't have them in kids' sizes is not cheap, right? So please be aware that when I ask for help for a parent, I've done my background research. I don't just put my hand up, you know what I mean? I do make sure I'm dealing with people that are genuine. So, Carolyn, please, you know, been doing this for 6 years. I thoroughly enjoy helping people. You can read about this, about the shoes drive, yeah, on National Homelessness Services, I think it is. She did the donation drive there to help the kids. And there was also an ABC article that was recently done about it. Maybe one of my mods can put the link in here for Carolyn Mary so that she can prove that this is happening, you know. No, we don't do scamming, okay? Oh, Carolyn, this is really terrible. You know, I don't know who you are all of a sudden. I've never had this before. I've never been questioned like this before on one of my lives when we're trying to help a family out. You know, and I'm very disappointed actually because, you know, somebody's done a good thing, right? And she's being hammered in that town. She's been terrorised in that town because half the town, she's had death threats over this. So please, I'm trying to be careful with it because I don't want this person and her children harassed anymore. Okay, because of what's going on. It's a very racist situation. And it's, you know, I can only do so much. I wish I could do a lot more for people. But despite having her car have iced coffee poured all over it, and being told she's not to come into Food Works to do her shopping, nobody wants to see her face around because she exposed what was going on when the shoe shop closed. And having little messages left to be careful where she drives. And having the house trashed. See, they didn't steal the food, they trashed the food. They sliced up the lounge and they smashed the TV and they took an autistic child's equipment that is, you know, and now I'm so angry that somebody's questioning because I want to buy this kid a LeapPad Ultimate to replace the one that was stolen. And then her mum can probably hook in and download more programs for her and possibly get the speech thing that was happening. Because she had a special program for speech as well that was helping, you know. Yeah, I'm just... There's a lot more to this and I can't say it all because I want this person to survive this. And that town, half that town is picking on this woman, right? And yeah. No, we don't do scams, okay? I was really offended about that, actually. That's really hurt because in 6 years I've never had somebody go, where's the proof type thing at me. I've never needed that. You know? Anyway. Yeah, oh. I'm just trying to help out a woman who's doing an incredibly generous thing. That's teamed up with another woman who managed to raise the money to make it a bigger thing. And this all started because this particular parent couldn't buy shoes for her own children to start at the beginning of school because she was on the Indu card and she couldn't get cash out to buy off the buy, sell and swap site. And then the shoe shop closed down anyway. You know what I mean? And the other two stores that sell shoes don't have school shoes and they don't have shoes in the kids' sizes, the sports shoes. Or you can buy a pair of thongs, brand name from the surf shop for $45. You can't wear them at school. Yeah, so... Alright, I'll put the bank details in the top, Katana Rose. But, I mean, straight after this happened, people started putting shoes up on the buy, sell, swap site because other people can use PayPal to buy stuff off of eBay, but people on the card can't. And we had Rowan Ramsey spouting, oh, but they can still buy online. You know what I mean? They can still buy online. Yeah, okay. So they get to buy online at dearer prices, as if they can afford R.M. Williams shoes anyway. And then they've got to wait for it to be delivered, and what if it doesn't fit right? You know what I mean? It's crazy. You know, but people started putting up shoes and hiking up the prices on the buy, sell, swaps, and they put on their little adverts, cash only, no Indu. That's what the people on the cash's debit card are up against in Ceduna. You know what I mean? No, you know, cash only, no Indu. Yeah. Anyway. You know, the main thing is these kids will start to see some shoes this week. Alright, there is a percentage of kids that have never had new shoes. They're going to get a shock because they're going to have new shoes. She's going to send me some photos during the week of what she's doing. But she was supposed to be sorting it out today. But unfortunately she had a house to clean up after the break-in yesterday that trashed her whole house. And what I find concerning is, yes, they stole her grandmother's engagement ring. Yes, they trashed the furniture. Yes, they trashed the TV. But they took a disabled kid's stuff, right? which I don't understand what they can use it for. But they didn't take the food, they trashed the food. Right? And that's disgusting. And I'm really angry about that. And then I find out Centacare only hands out 3 food hampers a week. And then they forward people on to this little tiny church who's busting his ass. And he's giving out 20 food hampers a week. Right? And I think it's the same church, the same minister that at the beginning of the trial, might be a poor internet connection if my sound's not syncing properly. At the beginning of the trial, we heard about one of the ministers was giving up his own stipend to pay for emergency hampers because his funding had been cut and his donations had gone down. I don't know. We do what we can. I want this kid to be okay, and I want this family to be safe. I want this family to be able to get through this. And despite what that town's throwing at her, right, and her kids, she's still got a big heart, and she's going to make sure that these shoes are distributed. And they're not going to be all distributed all at once. Right? First 50 pairs go out this week. Right? But the people who need it the most get them first, which is fair enough. And I think she's done a brilliant job. Absolutely. And it started off with us saying, hey, the shoe shop closed. You know, and where were the people on Indu supposed to go? It's disgusting what's going on over there. But anyway. So, I spoke at the rally yesterday. You can see the video on the page. The International Working Women's Rally yesterday in Brisbane. That was a good event. I'll be flying to, unfortunately, I really would love to be able to take part in the March for Justice rally, but I will be flying that day to Canberra, all right, for the 80 plus rally that's organised on the Tuesday the 16th of March, and we'll also be doing a presser and meeting politicians while I'm there. Do you know what I mean? So make the best of it. So I'll be down there for that, and then I'll fly back to Brisbane, and then on the Thursday the 18th we're doing the action outside Indu at Toowong. So if you're in Brisbane, please come along and join us. You know, yeah. And meanwhile, we'll help people as we can a little bit. I know I'm not a charity and I'm not supposed to do this sort of thing, but sorry, I've got a big heart. And I wish I could help more people and do more stuff, you know. And yeah, it's just ridiculous what's going on. So that just really upset me, that lady asking about, oh, I've been scammed before, you know. I'm in Queensland, this lady's in Ceduna. I can't exactly just go over to her place, I'm sorry, you know, but I'll do what I can. This lady has been around, she's been through hell and back, and still going through hell and back. We just don't want any more. I don't want her ringing me tomorrow to tell me there's more things happened to her, because I know there's a lot of stuff happened. You know, so life's tough for people all around the country on this card. You know, when we did the Christmas barbecues, and we did, we had all the presents for Harvey Bay and Bundaberg, right? We had stuff left over. I bagged it all up and we sent it to Kununurra. You know, and yeah, Kununurra got it all. So I sent 5 bags, each bag around about 7 kilos of toys, little lolly bags, And there was one bag that went up with just adult presents for parents, you know, things like little perfumes, aftershaves, little soaps. Brittany's from Bundaberg, that we've got a lady who runs a small business and she's on the cashless debit card. Brittany's candles and melts. She made a whole heap of stuff for us and we sent that up as well. She does bath bombs, melts and candles. You know, I'll promote her business because she's a single mum and she's worked hard to try and get this little business off the ground, and she's managed to do it despite being on the Indu card. And also, she takes Indu card so that she can help people as well access things. And the work she puts in to make soaps and the bath bombs and stuff like that. And if you're in the Bundaberg region, she often goes to the Shalom markets. She has a stall there, you know. She still has her hiccups with Indu, being on the Indu card, because it's difficult. Can't buy her moulds, can't buy stuff that she would normally buy. I've known a couple of card holders that had what I call micro businesses like this, and they've collapsed because they couldn't get access to their wholesale stocks because they didn't have enough cash in their 20% to be able to use their normal suppliers, and Indu won't let them do stuff. In fact, we caught Indu out trying to get one lady to use her Afterpay to buy her stock. And because she was an Afterpay merchant, and you're not allowed to do that. And India were trying to say, oh, just buy your wholesale stock with your Afterpay. And she's going, I can't do that. That breaches my merchant terms and agreement. And it's like, oh. You know, so... yeah, so... what a day. What else have I got to do this week? I don't know yet. I never know until the phone rings. I've got phone calls to ring people this week to sort some stuff out. Yeah, that's about it. The main thing is the shoes have made it to Ceduna, and they will be distributed this week. And I can't take the credit for that because, yeah, people on this page chucked in a few bucks, and I sent the lady money so she could buy her kids' shoes that week before school started. But then Donna jumped in. She saw what was happening on our page, and Donna from National Homeless Services jumped in, and they, you know, they coordinated from there. And it's amazing what they've been able to do in a month. It's fantastic, and I'm glad that they were able to do it. And yeah, and I'm glad that this week kids are going to have shoes on their feet. And for sure, you know, I don't know if I need anything else in Canberra yet, Darren. I've got accommodation sorted, so that's all right. And I've just got to send somebody my itinerary so they know where to pick me up. So yeah, all right, guys. Well, I'll say good night. I've done a bit more stuff on TikTok. I managed to, a member from Bundaberg managed to get me another copy of this because I keep giving them away. Politicians go, oh, I want that. It's like, yeah, okay, here, take mine. And I've given 3 out, you know what I mean? But I started photographing little bits and pieces of this and putting it on TikTok for people to understand. One of the things I put was the no joint accounts, because that is really relevant. There's a video on YouTube. We'll try and get it copied onto our thing. And it's from a public meeting in Kalgoorlie. And there was an older couple there that had been married for 43 years. And the wife was in tears because they'd been forced to financially divorce. They had been forced to financially divorce. As a married or de facto couple, you have to have your own cards. You can't have a joint account. And she really didn't know how to handle that because she'd been married for 43 years and they'd had their joint account and they'd paid their bills the way they always did. You know what I mean? And it really, really stressed her out. And when I asked, or the question was asked as to why this was required, and at the time, the government was saying it was to protect people from domestic violence. We've now seen that people on the card that are stuck in a domestic violence situation suffer more coercive control when the perpetrator takes their card and their password to their online portal and uses coercive control to keep people in check and take financial control again. Right? So I've put 2 videos up today, part 1 and part 2. One explaining this and one explaining the detriment for women and children mainly. We know that domestic violence happens to men as well, but it's mainly women and children that are suffering in this. You know, yeah, and I've come across a couple of people who have been in the situation, and one lady was stuck for over a year before she could get out, you know, and she still couldn't get off the card either. It's shocking. So I've put a part 1 and part 2 up on the top TikTok explaining that, and yeah, I'm just thinking about what else I can put up there. I don't want to overload it. There's other people also putting stuff up, which is fantastic. I noticed some of our members have also joined TikTok and putting stuff up and sharing information around. I think one of the biggest things this week, this last fortnight's been really triggering for me with what's been going on with the government, okay? I was going to do a live earlier today to talk about this because it's very... I still have trouble articulating in words. I've got this great big ball of, I'm so pissed off with this government, I don't know what to do with this big ball of it, if you know what I mean? So if I get a bit sweary, please excuse me, because there's times in the place where it is what it is. The biggest thing I've heard this week is rule of law, presumption of innocence, right? Where's the rule of law and presumption of innocence for people on the cashless debit card? Where's the rule of law and presumption of innocence for people affected by robo-debt? Parents Next. For everybody that's going through the job agency system, this whole punitive system that we have. Where is the rule of law, right, for these people? I am so sick to death of this government hiding behind rule of law, presumption of innocence and non-discrimination for them. But what about the rest of us out here? Workers, right, that are losing their workers' rights. Okay, human rights breaches, right, left and centre. Domestic and international human rights breaches across all sectors. Social security, people on the card, robo-debt, workers, refugees, right? Australia's not allowing any of this, but when it comes to something in that Parliament House, rule of law, and it's like, no, this is not right. Rule of law needs to apply to every citizen in this country, and we do have a duty to look after refugees. We signed the 1951 Refugee Pact to do it. We helped build the Human Rights Charter, International Human Rights Charter. Even though we didn't ratify it, we helped build it after the war. The least we can do is stand by it, right? But this country, this government is just getting beyond cruel. It is beyond cruel. Now, most people, I do videos on my own page. Normally, I don't do anything that's off topic on this page. This page is for card stuff. But I'm a survivor of a very brutal abduction and sexual attack, which nearly cost me my life. I had to be resuscitated. Right? And I've had to live with that for 40 years. Of the last 2 weeks has been so triggering, all right, across all platforms. I couldn't get away from this topic, right, of what's been going on in that house. We know that it's been going off for years. And I'm hoping in one way this opens the floodgates for more women to speak up, right? Because it's about time the plaster was ripped off of that scab. 20 years ago, I lived in the Housing Trust house in South Australia. Kate was a baby, my daughter. Right? 5 of us were sitting around having a coffee. 4 of us had already had issues, and I mean, the other four that I was with were 10 years my junior. They were all in their early 20s at the time, right? Only one had not been sexually abused at one stage, right? And, yeah, so only 1 out of 5 had been, had a normal life. The rest of us had been in different situations. That was 20 years ago. 4 out of 5 women in one street could report that they'd been sexually abused in one way or shape or form, whether it be a father or an uncle. Mine was a stranger. I was abducted, right? So it's a different situation. I am so angry I don't have the words, and I've tried all week on my own page, and I'm not going to try here, but I wanted to. That's why I'm also angry that I can't march for justice, because I'm going to be on a plane. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to go and represent all of us against the card in Canberra on Tuesday, right? And if you're in Canberra or close to it, there is a big march for justice at Parliament House on the Monday of the 15th, right? But if you can stay over for the Tuesday, we're doing our rally on the Tuesday, you know? And, yeah, come and join us, for sure, down at Parliament House on the Tuesday. I still can't get the words out. But one of the things, I was in a Zoom meeting, and one of the things I wanted to point out, coercive control. Queensland wants to put forward new laws regarding coercive control, making it illegal, but in the sense of it's between intimate family members only. I want that law to be extended to employers. I want that law to be extended to the staff and the interns that work in Parliament House, right? I want that law to be extended to every citizen, so that coercive control is illegal across all fields. Cashless debit card is coercive control. You know, it impacts people very similarly because it's coercive control of your money. If you don't activate that card, you can't access 80% of your income. That's coercive control, right? You know, so not good enough. I want that, and that's why I was quite shocked when I come across Coercive Control's campaign on TikTok, and I mentioned the cashless debit card, and they blocked me. Oh, it's for intimate partners only. No, domestic violence is not just inside the household. Domestic violence towards women is everywhere. It's in the workplace, it's in schools, it's bloody everywhere, right? I've got, you know, people here, Leanne, I'm so angry I'm ready to explode. My problem is I can't seem to get it out, and if I want to get it out, it's going to come out in a myriad of F-bombs, I can assure you of that. One thing that, you've heard me say this before, I'm sick to death of the disrespect of women, right? And that's bottom line. Many, many years ago, I met a guy who was a millionaire. He was a very different person to speak to. Not all millionaires are assholes. This guy looked like rags. You know what I mean? And he had a very strange view. He absolutely treasured women because, and he said to me, we can't do what you can do. You create life. You bring another person into the world. We can't do that. You know what I mean? And he had the utmost respect for women. But I'm sick to death of this government's disrespect for women. This government's disrespect for our elderly, right? This government's disrespect for what would be my parents if they were alive. Or your parents. Or we've got people 62, 63 years of age on the cashless debit card, right? We're looking at what's happening with aged care and people being abused and sexually abused in a nursing home. Jesus, I don't want to go in a nursing home when I get too broken to be able to function on my own. Why would I want to do that? You know? Jeez, I don't want to be a target all over again, thank you very much. You know, it's just sickening what's been going on. And I'm sick to death of it. Of old age people, right, in nursing homes on $6 a day food budget, while these bastards up there in Parliament House scoff themselves on the best at $181 a day food budget, right? And it's just beyond a joke. It's sickening. All right. At the end of this month, job seekers going to drop down, and the $3.57 a day insult of, whoa, we've raised it the highest ever in 20 years. Yeah, right. Meanwhile, you've got 1 million more people that have never been on the system about to hit rock bottom. We've got a homeless crisis happening, right? Even people that are working can't get homes. You know, it's getting ridiculous and it's just out of control. We need public housing. Accessible, long-term, stable public housing. And we need a government that can actually step up and do it. And not use developers and private organisations. Actually step up and say, right, we're going to build 1 million homes. Right? We're going to build 1 million homes. That's what we need. You know what I mean? We need things changed. We need a lot of things changed. So part of that rally that I'm going to is 80 a day, it's called, right? A livable income for everybody. Because, like I said to the media before, whether you're 17 or 70, right, rent, electricity, telephone, insurance, food, running a car or having access to public transport is all costs, you know. Annabelle, while it's live, you won't be able to see all of the comments until after I've finished. They'll just keep moving really fast, okay, Annabelle? So it's not the snippets being cut off. It's the fact that as I'm live, it'll only show a couple of comments. You know, I'm scared for a lot of families who are not going to deal with not having any money, not being able to pay their mortgages, not being able to pay their rents. Where are they going to go? I'm following a lady called Sarah in New South Wales she's doing a daily blog or vlog, they call it a vlog, on TikTok. She's 151 days homeless with her kids, right? And she's having to rely on the generosity of people helping her out so she can pay for hotel rooms because there's no emergency housing, all right? And one of her kids is special needs and needs to stay close to the town they're in because her supports are there, and that's what she needs to do. She gets trolled heaps by people, and I think it's disgusting that people troll. This lady never in a million years thought she'd be in this situation, but she decided to vlog about it every day. And things like when it's coming up to Easter, so the accommodation's running out, you're talking about accommodation jumping up beyond $2,000 a week where she is, and, you know, things like that. I think she's doing a fabulous job because she's decided she's going to be an advocate for homeless. For homelessness. To point out that Airbnb is absolutely destroying rentals. Public housing is non-existent. Emergency housing is not out there. People say, why doesn't she go to a refuge? Well, refuges are prioritised for emergency DV. You know, so, yeah, it's incredible what's going on out there, and I'm seeing this lady stand up, and eventually, if she does get a house, she's also got plans in the works to go further to keep advocating to help other people. She's trying to educate people that, you know, just because someone's homeless, it doesn't mean they're a loser. There's a lot of working people that are homeless, right? Because it just isn't the houses, and the rents have gone up, and everybody wants more money. I'm watching room rentals go crazy. $350 a week for rooms, or a little granny flat somewhere. It's like, oh my God, $700 a week for rent. It's ridiculous. If you're on a social security payment of any type, right, you can't afford to rent independently. You know? So there's a lot of things that need to be changed. We need to get rid of this government to do it. We really do need to get rid of this government, because they're destroying everything. They're undoing everything. They're undoing everything that was built by people like my grandparents. And it's driving me nuts to see this country pitted one against each other all the time. But what's been going on in the press and the constant triggering effects, like I said, there's a ball inside me and I don't know how to get it out. And I'm sick of the disrespect of women. Right? I get sick of the trolls that come out onto, I see it all over the place. And, you know, if somebody does a story in the media using a single mum, oh, you should have shut your legs, and all those horrible derogatory comments, it's like, excuse me? Right? I'll get a job, and you know, the highest amount of people unemployed at the moment are women over 55 who are facing homelessness, who can't get back into whatever lifetime professions that they've had. They're written off. You know, and it's disgusting. And when I see, get a job, pick fruit, bludge, 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 and it's like, hang on a minute. Would you say this to your own mum? Would you say this to your own grandmother or grandparent? You know what I mean? Yeah, I come across as sexist sometimes because the card impacts 86% of women that are on it. Bigger percentage than men. And unfortunately, the guys won't come out and talk about the hassles. They get very depressed, I know that, and they struggle really hard with the card. All right? Yeah, it's just getting crazy what's going on out here, and that government's not doing anything for the people. And that's what's driving me nuts. But with the disrespect angle, I came to the conclusion a long time ago, right? And that's why I'm single. And excuse the crude term here, right? But I decided I wasn't going to be somebody else's cook, clean and fuck. I was going to be my own person, right? Because that's basically it, isn't it? That's what women seem to be expected to be all the time. And I'm over it. And this has been going on for years, 50 years, 100 years or whatever. And this government wanted to take everybody back to obedient little women in the house. Or go to work. But you can't be yourself. You know? Darren's got the same problems here. He would love to be able to work again except for his disabilities. Yeah, I bashed my head against that wall until I was 46. And then I realised, Darren, it wouldn't be any good me going and trying to work for an employer, because it would be, I couldn't give him the productivity that's needed. Do you know what I mean? I would be a liability to an employer, not, you know, not a positive. Yeah, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good on my health, and it wouldn't be fair to the employer to have to put up with somebody like me, or to try and cater for my needs. And most people couldn't cater for my needs anyway. That's the reason why I ended up on a grandfather DSP, because they wrote me off. You know? So, yeah, bugbears. But anyway, so there's my Sunday night update. I'm just watching the comments here, and you know, so on the Bay Islands in Queensland, most homes are now Airbnb. All right, this lady and her daughter and her kids are living 9 people in one home. It's getting crazy what people are having to do, living in sheds and living in tents at the back of other people's houses and stuff like that. And you've got to watch out too, because it's just, there's lots of scams with rentals as well, you know. But I'm watching the rental prices go stupid, and it's just crazy. I think, yeah, the biggest stuff up that Julia Gillard ever did was when she cut that sole parents pension. Now, what happened was John Howard had actually cut it, but there was a grandfathered amount of people that still retained it. And Julia Gillard removed the grandfathered part, so those people crashed and burned within a fortnight. And that was terrible, because I can't imagine what it would have been like for parents to be in that situation overnight, literally. And that is Bob Hawke's vision of no child in poverty by 1999 was fine, and it would have been okay. But the minute Julia Gillard did that to sole parents, it dragged it all back. And now we've got, well, the Smith family say 1 in 7 children, but I think it's more than that now that live in poverty. 3.5 million families are living in absolute poverty, and their kids. So there's a lot of things that need to be changed. One of those things would be fixing that sole parent pension problem. Because in this state, in Queensland, forcing a parent to go on to JobSeeker and look for jobs when their child turns 6 and 8, or 8 if they're single, but you can't leave your child alone at home until they're 12 in this state. You know what I mean? So what happens? What, is mum going to be working for childcare and then live on nothing? And then you get people who think that she shouldn't be allowed to have a family tax payment, and then they want to put them on the cashier's debit card. It's like, this is ridiculous. Again, attack. You know? And so we need to change this government, but yeah, the anger around this country towards this government, people need to, Katana Rose says 12 is too young. The 70s, both my parents worked. I was 9 years of age. I had my own house key to come home to an empty house. But it was a different world. It was a different world in the 70s when we did that. You couldn't do it now. You couldn't do it now. Right? But I used to come home from school, had my house key, go in through the back door and wait for either my older brother to get home or wait for my parents to get home, because they were both working full time. And Darren says, Commonwealth need to create jobs building priority housing for domestic violence victims urgently, and the International Women's Day is time to call for it, yeah. It's not just for people who are suffering from domestic violence. We need everybody. Housing is a human right. You know, everybody has the right to have a home, a safe home where they can close the door, lock the door, a roof over their heads, somewhere to cook a meal, somewhere to put the beds, put the kids. We shouldn't have families. This is the year 2021. We should not have anybody sleeping rough in a tent down by a swamp. We shouldn't have families camping in cars, right? We shouldn't have parents moving from hotel to hotel trying to fundraise to pay for the hotel fees, right? You know, it's like, we shouldn't be here at this time in history. We should have advanced so much further forward. But with governments like this government, who don't share this country's wealth with its ordinary people, you know, they need to fix things. And it's just, yeah. I'm looking at, I'm just looking at comments here. Kathy Strickland says a friend of hers in the 60s was a latchkey kid when her mother returned to teaching. Because prior to having the child family payments, or single mother's pension as it used to be called, right, yes, kids got left home alone, and the eldest kid used to have to babysit the little kids while mum went out to work. Because if they didn't, they starved. You know, so we definitely need to change a lot of things. And we need to make sure that the services are put back in place. We do need better services for men as well, for domestic violence services for men. It's very difficult. Where do they go? And, you know, there are some men out there raising their kids on their own. Where do they go? What child group, what childcare do they go to? What refuge do they go to with the kids? I don't know what services are out there for the guys, but we need that sorted as well. All right. You know, so a lot needs to change in this country, because everything's been, all the building blocks of our society have been pulled down by the neoliberal bullshit that comes out of our politicians' mouths as they funnel all the money to corporates, companies like Indu and Serco and, you know, job agencies. Imagine how much money out of the Social Security budget is being put into administration and all these contracts. All right? What could it do if it was going back into our community services, our hospitals, our mental health, our public schools? Because remember, our public schools aren't getting very much funding out of this, but the private schools are getting all their lovely swimming pools and their orchestra suites, and they're getting all their top funding. You know what I mean? All of this stuff, and yeah, where's the money going for the average public? People say, oh, I pay my taxes. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. Then demand your taxes look after you, the worker, and your family, and your community. All right? No good screaming about my taxes if you're going to turn around and say that somebody on job seekers bludger, or they deserve a cashless debit card. You're happy to pay your taxes to screw further, you know, Australians, and keep those above rich. One day you might need those services yourself. You know, we do need to vote correctly to get this sorted out. You know what I mean? Darren says you can't understand why private schools are funded by public money. No. And how many sectors of the community are private but are funded by public money again? Oh, the latest one. They want to put a $600 levy on everybody to pay for aged care. Excuse me? They've privatised so many aged care centres to their mates that are making millions, that are starving and killing old people, right, and treating them like crap. And then they turn around and say, oh, we need to put a $600 a year levy to pay for better old age care. How about you take old age and you properly fund the public sector, right, and you get rid of all these private players that are just screwing people out of their homes, their life savings, and 85% of their Centrelink pensions. Do you know what I mean? And they're getting rich, and they're going on holidays, they're driving their Maseratis, and they're having a lovely time, while, you know, your mum with dementia is sitting there with a wet nappy and blisters and sores and maggots and starving. No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. There's just so much wrong. You know, it's just, there's just so much wrong. Daniel Waters talking about Elizabeth Hill. I actually lived in Elizabeth for quite a long time. And the plan for Elizabeth was brilliant at the beginning. All underground electricity. Right? It was a very modern city of its times in the 50s. Full housing trust homes. For all of the workers, for all of the industry, and the migrants were welcomed. And here, go and pick your home. That's the way it was at the beginning. Life tenure, right? Affordable rentals for the workers. It was unbelievable. Even when I still lived in public housing in 2008, up until 2008, I was in a life tenure home. My poor little dog box, as I used to call it, was 60 years old. But I had it for life. Unfortunately, I had the wrong neighbours, and my health collapsed. So I couldn't get a transfer out, and I had to leave. And I moved. And that was the worst thing I ever did. Not really, because I ended up here, and now I'm doing this, which is, probably wouldn't have me doing this if I had stayed there. So that's a decade ago. It's sad to see that there is no stability in public housing anymore. When I was there, when I lived in Elizabeth, back in 94, they were tearing down, and they were saying, oh, we're building all new ones. But they didn't. Instead, they sold all of the old housing. They sold street after street after street. You could buy one of their houses for as low as $16,000. $29,000 for a good one that had a shed and had the electrics rewired and had already had the plumbing separated because there were duplexes, you know what I mean? That, yeah, you could buy them for as low as $29,000. You could buy a 4-bedroom one for $45,000. Then John Howard came in and we watched the houses just inflate, 45, 55. And the next thing we know, little dog boxes, and I mean they're 8 squares, they're dog boxes, 3-bedroom little homes, but they're really small, were $220,000. LJ Hooker had a lovely time at Elizabeth West, buying up street after street after street, spending $10,000 on each house to rewire them, repaint them, rent them out for $125 a week at the time. Now you can't get those same homes for under $250, $240, $280 a week. They never did rebuild. They just let the developers take the land because the valuation for the land had gone up so much since the 50s, and they didn't rebuild. And the ones that were left, they've handed them over to, a lot of them, they've done like they've done with the ones I'm in, handed them over to private community housing. So there's not a lot of public housing left around the country because they've sold it all off. Yeah, you had the rent to buy for the tenants. That was a good scheme, right? Friends of mine bought a house under that. And then that changed to you could get a mortgage to buy the house. That helped people own their homes. That was good. But there used to be life tenure and your family could continue the tenure onwards. For some reason, it's got distorted into, public housing should be only short term till you get on your feet. Well, you never actually get on your feet, even if you do get a job, right? What's the point? You're going to defeat the purpose of giving somebody stability is if the minute they get a job, you kick them out of the housing that they're in. No. You know, the only difference that they did when I lived in housing was if you got work, the rent went up to the market value. You didn't get the cheap rent anymore, you know what I mean? Or the 25% of your payment. Your rent was adjusted to what your income was, and once you hit a threshold, then your rent went to market value for that area. So you paid full market rent. You know, but people had stability, and from stability, you have a lot less problems, a lot less homeless problems too. So that seems to be, we need housing, we need to get rid of this damn card, right? Social Security payments need to be raised across the board. People need to understand that it was frozen in 1994. The COVID supplement raised it to what it should have been if it hadn't have been frozen. That's all they did was lift the freezing cap off of it, and it would have been what it should have been. Right? At the moment, disabilities carers and pensioners now have all their payments frozen. Since last March, they froze it, you know, and a lot of people starting to squeak about that. And that was only $10 twice a year, but it's frozen. You know, Leanne's in Kilburn, I know where that is. 20 vacant blocks of land and boarded up housing trust in my, former housing trust properties were demolished 20 years ago and are still vacant. Yep, and it's disgusting, isn't it? Yeah, it's crazy what's going on. Streaky Bay and South Australian government's going to sell the housing in Streaky Bay. You know, it's just crap what's going on around the place. Aged care was Commonwealth and state government negligence with the privatisation like everything else they're handing out. Yep. Yeah, so I'm just going through comments here because even I don't see them as they all go past, and I need to scroll back down again. The only way we're going to get change is we have to force change. It means we have to vote in the right people that are going to bring in change. Disability's always been tax exempt. Daniel Waters, how come they stopped disability being able to pay tax? You can pay tax if you want to, but it's tax exempt payment. It's the only one that is. Okay, all the other payments are taxable income, which means that you can choose to pay tax every fortnight and do a tax return at the end of the year and you get your tax back. And depending on if you're working, that's why you've got to keep on top of your reporting and your taxable income. With the COVID, people are reminded to add that in as their taxable income. The COVID supplement was taxable income. Disability pensioners didn't get the COVID supplement. We got the 2 lots of $750, and we got the 2 lots of $250, and that was it. Okay, so there's something on Four Corners tomorrow night, 8:30 Melbourne time, regarding the explosion of the Canberra bubble. Okay, thank you, Julie. Yeah, hang on, I've just got to have a mouthful of a drink here. Oh. Okay, so we've got... Kelly says her child's been hurt in this government house first few weeks we were here because they did not clear out all of the broken glass. They did a piss poor job of cleaning up after the fact. It had a dozen stitches. Backyard is still full of glass. It's terrible, isn't it? It's terrible. Everybody needs a decent place to live. And until you can get that, people... I want to know, if you're working, how the hell do you manage to go to work every day, send your kids to school every day when you're homeless? How do you do it when you're living in a car? You know, and if you're not working, how do you do it? Councils around this country need to open up places where people can get showers, safe car parks with lighting, and a security guard. Port Macquarie did it. You know, so... Amber Jackson says, Andrew Laming wants to target families all living in one home under Centrelink. What do they expect people to do when rentals around? I remember him sprouting, or some of them sprouting that rubbish about how people sharing a house and all that money going into one house shouldn't be allowed. It's like, hang on a minute. Each one of those people is an individual and entitled to their full payment. And if they're paying to rent a room, rooms aren't cheap. Right? They still need to pay their rent, electricity, and their commitments to that house, even if they're sharing the house. It's not a case of a lot of people renting a house as mates and just divvying up the rent. That way, it doesn't work that way, right? Houses are now just being rented out for the rooms. I agree with you, Marge. Yes. But, you know, the Liberals were banging on about, oh, you can have a house where you've got 4 people on the dole and they're getting $2,000 a month in the door, blah, 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 and they're living the high life. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not living the high life because the rent on a lot of those places is $400, $500, $600. A flat in Ceduna is $300 a week. There you go. 1 bedroom flat in Ceduna is $300 a week. Yeah. You know? Amber says, the government have no right to interfere how families share a home. We bloody own a house, so we can have whoever we want living here. You know what I mean? Never see a family out homeless, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think they just put this in the seed, and you know, they've got these supporters that are brain dead that cannot understand that this concept to me of having to share with strangers and this being expected. Oh, you just have to go into a share house. When you've got children, it's not a really good option. You don't know who you're sharing with. You don't know what situation you're getting into. Right? When I first came to Queensland, there was me and my daughter was 9. We did the share house thing. We were lucky. We got a couple that were nice people. Sort of. But it's like really scary. You've got no idea who you're moving in with. No idea. And like, I've watched this lady Sarah on TikTok and people have had a go at her. She's got kids. She's not going to move into someone's house that she doesn't know, because she's got a responsibility to keep her children safe. Oh, but so-and-so offered you a room here, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, you know, and yet you've got a government that expects people to just, well, go share with a stranger. No, you don't know what you're getting into. Where's down there, March? 500 a week is about, yeah. Rents are just crazy, and it's just getting worse, and people are starting to hike up the prices. All right, people are prepared to start, some people have got the money to spend putting down 6 months worth of rent in one hit to try and get a house. I've known plenty of parents that have been trying 50, 60, 70 houses, no joy, no luck. It's just getting me on the joke, you know. And India's a barrier as well, that doesn't help. All right, owners have twigged into that they don't want their mortgages stuffed around at all. They don't like people being late with their rent. That's the bottom line. And you can't argue with that, because if you're relying on that rent money to go into your mortgage account and it's late, the bank charges a default fee. Yeah, so. Oh. But, yeah, as I said, this week's going to be interesting with the March for Justice all around the country tomorrow. And I think I'm glad that women are standing up, and they need to stand up a lot more and not let these people off the hook. We can't let this be swept under the carpet. It can't be hidden. It can't be hidden. You know what I mean? And everything needs to be exposed. Everything. And the whole culture in this country towards women has to change. As a whole. Across the board, how women are treated. One of the first things... Now, this is hypothetical, okay? If I was a social services minister, one of the first things I would change, every citizen gets their own payment. I would individualise the system so that everybody got a payment. Not a case of, oh, well, you got married, so you can have $200 a fortnight less each. I beg your pardon? No. Because we've got a lot of people who are married or in a de facto situation where one person's not even getting a payment because the other person might be working and earning $10 too much, right? And that's not on. We shouldn't have anybody. If you're entitled to a payment because you're a parent or caregiver or on a disability or out of a job, as a citizen, you should be entitled to a payment. Right? You shouldn't be denied that payment just because you're married or de facto relationship. Okay? As a citizen, you should be entitled to your own payment. Of course, a neoliberal government would never go for this. Oh, it's going to cost too much money. But it takes away the gender inequality straight away. It fixes that problem straight away. Because the majority of, again, unfortunately, it's a sexist policy, isn't it? Because who's impacted more? Women. And children are impacted more because hubby might earn $10 too much. Right? And it's wrong. Everybody should be a citizen entitled to the whatever payments available. So if you don't have a job and you're able to get work, or you're able-bodied and you normally would qualify for job seeker, you should get job seeker. If you're disabled, you should get your full disability support pension. It shouldn't be impacted by your partner's income, work status, or Centrelink payment income. You shouldn't be getting less. But that would equalise things. And there would be a lot of people out there, again, women, because it's always the women that we hear about that, like Kathy, got kicked off her job seeker payment, right, when her hubby got the age pension. Why? Why does, in my world, Kathy would have her payment, not be completely penniless? and completely dependent on a husband. This is not 1950. And this is what I mean. This is the year 2021. We should have caught up by now. This country is wealthy enough to do it. And it puts more money back into the economy, which then creates employment, which keeps people employed. But it gives people better health, their well-being, their financial, their mental health, their self-worth, their self-esteem, you know what I mean? Because they're not cut out of any sort of assistance. But that'd be me. And then I'd get rid of the job agencies, I'd get rid of the cashless debit card, and I'd close down Parents Next. And yeah, I'd completely uphaul the whole bloody system. We would do something similar to what the old CES was. It would all come back under government control. There would be properly trained staff. All those staff that spent years and years and years knowing their jobs would be called back in, right, and get some of their jobs back. And they would all have to do empathy courses, the ones that are left that want to work under the conditions that we've had, because I would not tolerate any staff member in a government department treating people like shit. My attitude would be is if you're going to talk down to people, you can go do it out there. Go somewhere else and do it, but don't do it here. You know what I mean? Because, you know, Australian citizens deserve so much more than what they're getting. And at the moment, they're just getting used up, spat out, and treated like crap. And I'm over it. Anyway, I better go. Been rattling on for long enough. But yeah, our updates. The shoes are now in Ceduna, which is fantastic. Yeah, so I'm glad the shoes, we'll see, we'll get some photos, okay, and we'll sort that out. And we'll also be able to sort out the parent that needs some help as well. Alright guys, just wondering if you've lost your payment. Does your husband get paid a full payment or just reduced partner payment? They didn't in our case. I don't know. Kathy Strickland, can you answer Linda Mayer in the comment? That's a question for you, Kathy. I can't answer that question because I'm on a single disability support pension and I will be single for the rest of my life. I've been single for the last 20 years. It doesn't make any difference to me now. Because I can tell you now, my white knight in shining armour, the bars up here, the poor bastard probably wouldn't be able to reach it. You know what I mean? With the crap that I've been through in my life, yeah, it wouldn't be fair. Julie, we can't share stuff from that particular Facebook group because their admin has us blocked. So whenever I see it on our pages, I have to delete it because it comes up attachment unavailable. So we can't share their stuff. Yeah. But I'm just checking comments, make sure I haven't missed anybody. Sheridan says $340 a week in Melbourne for a 3-bedroom house is cheap. That is cheap. Yeah, absolutely. 3-bedroom house here's what, 300, 350, 400, depending on what it's got. A lot of the dumps around the place don't have much. Going through, God, there's lots of comments and lots of bits and pieces. I think I've got them all. Yeah, I think I'm up to date with the comments. Alright guys, so if there's any questions, put them there now and I'll answer you as quick as I can. So yeah, so Canberra will be fun. I know you have Milo, you have to talk to my daughter about that. I don't know. My daughter struggled with the time that I put in at the beginning of the fight, and I had big problems because she felt that I was more interested in the card fight than her, but that was a thing that happened. Of course, it wasn't true. My daughter is my world. My daughter is my world. And we had a bit of success this week with a bit of fighting. My daughter got her independent rate. For people that don't follow my own personal page, but you're quite welcome to. It's public. I rant on there quite a bit. I suggest if you don't like bad language, just block your ears, because sometimes I'll get a bit narky and I'm not afraid to swear. Yeah, I try to not do that on this page, you know what I mean, unless something really, really arcs me up. And I'll give you fair warning of it as well, because some people don't like it, but I've had this argument with conservatives in the past, right? I can never work it out. You're telling them about the things that are happening to people that are really, really bad, okay? And they go, oh, yeah, okay. And then you turn around and go, oh, fuck. And they lose their mind. It's like, what? They're absolutely outraged. They lose their mind over somebody swearing. But they're not outraged by somebody dying from me being on the card or robo-debt or any of that. I can never figure out their logic. They're not fazed by the cruelty of what this government's doing, but they'll have a go at you for bad language. It's like, we've got a support group set up, right? And in the early days, it was really busy, the support group. And we allowed people to vent, which means that if somebody came out and they were writing and every second word was F-bomb this and F-bomb that, we didn't delete it. We let them vent. And I had a lady come to me in inbox and she was really upset. I said, I would rather have somebody scream and yell and swear at me and vent than lose control, damage their property, hurt themselves, or possibly hurt somebody else. Right? I'm not offended if somebody goes off their tits and because people have got to vent. Right? And if the worst is the F-bomb here, I try to say to people, don't use the C word on the page, because really that's going a bit too far. And we don't allow calling female politicians any sort of derogatory name, because that's uncalled for, right? And it's not good for us and it's not good for them, and we have to chase it down and remove the comments. You know what I mean? It's just not poor. It's poor form, and we just don't. Look, we're fighting monsters. We don't need to become the monsters, okay? So we stay up above that. Marge says she's been known to swear like a trooper. Me too. But I want people, before I do, one of the things that, there's a video, I don't know whether it's out there, because Facebook have archived a lot of my videos but I lost my temper with Pauline Hanson once on my page, and I swear there was every F-bomb you could think of, and I just exploded, and within like 2 days it had 6,000 views and gone wild. And every time I got angry, my videos just went everywhere, right? But if I do an informative, a very calm approach, it's like 10 people see the video. If I'm swearing my head off and going off, raising the roof, it goes everywhere. Yeah. So, Omar says they just want the pretense of self-control. People dying is okay because it's a result of a controlled system. People swearing is not okay because it appears to be a lack of control. Oh, I'm not out of control. I'm not out of control. That's, no. But really, you don't really want to press my buttons, because I'm human. And I'm not going to change that for anybody. Yeah, I'm not the hair and makeup brigade that I see elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? Mind you, as you can see, I got a haircut. because it had to get tidied up, because there's no way I'm doing public speaking looking like a rat bag. So I did get a haircut. And the next step to do is, I want to do a colour, okay? I want to do something. See, here I am, I'm 52 years of age. Am I having a midlife crisis? I don't know. What colour do I do it? Right? Yeah. What colour do I do it, hey? Because at the moment it's sort of salt and pepper grey and I'm bored. Do I do purple? Do I do red? What do I do? I don't know. We'll see how we go. I want to do something different. What are you on about, Danielle? I swear like a trooper, but I don't cover up rapists, excuse me? And child abusers? Oh, I don't know what you're on about there. Anyway, people are saying purple, red, or bright purple. Or a purpley red, that's different. Purpley red. I don't know. The only thing I do know is every time I do colour my hair, within about 2 months it goes gold. It just turns blonde. And it's like, I know I was never a blonde, okay? I was always brown hair, black hair. It seems to have gone lighter brown with the shade, with the salt and pepper. I don't know what it's doing at the moment, but I just want something different, a change. So I went and got it cut really short, rainbow. Rainbow. Yeah, as if I'm going to walk into Parliament House. Oh my God. I wonder, raven blue. That's a really dark blue, but in the light it would really shine. Do you know what I mean? Or red, purple streakies. I don't know. I have to see what the budget says in the next 2 weeks and see what happens, okay? Bright pink, I don't think so. No, not pink. I'm not a pink person. That's not me. Pink is not my colour, for sure. Oh, that reminds me of an outfit I had in the 80s. It was bright, hot pink jacket. And it was a skirt, actually. Oh, my God. Let's not go there. I haven't worn dresses or skirts for 20 years, so anyway, red. I get bored with red, Marge, because I always do like a cherry red. I sit there looking at all the colours and then I go, no, we'll just do that one. It's like I'm bored. Do you know what I mean? Winter, autumn shade. I did auburn once and I got home and my dad called me Carrot Top because I didn't realise his mum was a redhead as well. So, yeah. Oh, we'll see how we go. Alright, guys. Well, I'll put the details for the bank account in the top. So we can do some help for this lady in Ceduna and her kid. And also keep the funds going for my travels throughout the rest of the month. And I'm going to take the big protest suitcase with me just to Canberra. Because I suddenly realised that their temperatures are getting a lot colder than what they are here. So I'm going to need to take warm clothes with me. Because, yeah, I'm not used to 12 degrees and stuff like that of a night time or even colder. So I will be making sure I take warm clothing with me to Canberra so I don't freeze. And so March the 15th is the March for Justice all around the country. March the 16th is our Canberra trip. Then March the 18th we've got an event outside Indu in Toowong in Brisbane from 9:30 in the morning, followed on by another event outside Serena Rosso in the city in Brisbane as well. So yeah, that's a big day for the 18th. Now if you're in Melbourne, there is an event outside Treasury Place from, I think it's 12 o'clock. I'll have to check. Now, they wanted me to speak down there for that event, but I haven't been able to sort the airfares out for that. So it's probably going to miss, because we were going to set up an event for that as well. And people in Melbourne could have come down to that event, and that, because that's near Josh Frydenberg's office as well. And that's a small rally that will be marching up to Fair Work Place, I think it is. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. But at this stage, the 15th to the 19th is the week that the Get Up AUWU Life and our campaigns are all running that week, and we're taking part in 2 of those events. So that's not too bad. We're doing what we can and making sure that card holders are heard and represented, and yeah. So Marge, I'll put the details in the comments as soon as I finish this. I've just got to edit it when I finish this. Alright people, I'll say good night, and yeah, keep safe, and I'll come back on probably during the week sometime. Depends what happens around the place, and we'll give you updates on what's going on. Alright, stay safe people. See